Balake, where is Balake at?
My name's Blake.
Do you want to go to war, Balake? I'm for real. Aaron.
Aaron is right here, everyone. Thank you for joining me for a little bit more SPTV. Let's talk about politics. Okay, no, we're not here to talk about politics, but we are here to talk about my no politics rule on this channel, which, by the way, is a rule that I'm very proud of. I'm very proud of the fact that I have, for my own reasons and for my own sanity and the sanity of all my viewers, chosen to never interject anything about partisan politics, national level politics, hotly divisive issues, culture war issues, to just never even allow mention or joking or ridiculing or discussion of anything like that on my channel. I recognize it's not what my viewers come to me for. I myself watch a ton of YouTube. I watch politics stuff. I watch news stuff. I watch non-politics, non-news stuff. I like getting my politics from the political talking heads, and I like getting my news from news people, even like pop culture YouTube news people. I do not like getting my politics from the people I go to for entertainment. And I guess I consider the people, in some ways, I also consider some of the news people to be entertainment. Like Philip DeFranco is a guy who does current events news. I enjoyed his content a lot more when he stopped interjecting his own personal politics into his coverage of current events. I still watch his channel, but I don't actually enjoy it because I don't like hearing all about Phil's politics. I like hearing about the current events. I can make up my own mind about my own politics. Okay, what the hell are we talking about? Guys, I have over the years gotten a lot of requests from political personalities, political newsy political personalities to come on their programs and talk about Scientology specifically. I just became overwhelmed with the urge to make sure my mic was plugged in. Okay, we're good. I have received requests from, I'm not going to name names right now, but people that you guys would recognize who are known for their political beliefs and for their, their programs are talking politics. I got to tell you guys, I love when these people want to talk about Scientology. And I'm talking about both on the left and the right. And one of the reasons I wanted to do this video was to get some feedback from you guys on who is it that, who are like high profile news people or YouTube entertainment news people who you consider to be furthest to the left and furthest to the right. Because I'm curious to know if my opinions on this match up with your guys' opinions. And guys, you can burn up the live chat with your answers to this, or even, the comments down below for the replay crew. For me, almost all of the media I consume is on YouTube. Even if it's an actual news personality, I'm only watching them if they're on YouTube, if they have a YouTube channel, if clips of the news are on YouTube. I watch all my stuff on YouTube. Okay. For me, the far left, in my mind, is represented by Cenk Uygur and the Young Turks. Anna Kasparian, Cenk Uygur, and the Young Turks. To me, it's hard for me to think of someone who represents more of a leftist, progressive, some would say socialist. I don't think those guys are socialist, but I think Cenk Uygur and the Young Turks are pretty much the furthest to the left that I can think of, but I also don't know whether I think about these things the same way that others do. On the right, when I think of who are the big personalities furthest to the right, I think of Ben Shapiro. I think of Matt Walsh. I think of Steven Crowder. And there are people that I would consider so far to the right that I wouldn't even consider going on their show. Someone like a Nick Fuentes. I wouldn't be caught dead talking with Nick Fuentes about Scientology or anything else. I'm going to take a look at the live chat here. Please let me know, guys. I'm looking at the live chat real time. I see Tucker Carlson. Okay. Yes. Okay. Tucker's associated with the right. See, some of these guys that people associate with the right criticize the right. And I'm never quite sure, because I don't spend a lot of time watching the content, whether they're criticizing the right from the right or are they criticizing the right from the center. I got to be honest. I don't watch enough Tucker Carlson to know do you guys consider Tucker Carlson to be more to the right of Ben Shapiro? Because I don't think that I do, but I also don't consider myself to be an expert in these personalities. I only tend to see YouTube highlights or stuff like this. Okay, okay. Breaking points. Do you guys consider breaking points to be further to the right of Daily Wire, for example? And I'm looking at the live chat. Oh, Hannity. Yes. Do you guys consider Hannity's more of a corporatist, though, isn't he? He's a kind of a Republican corporatist. But look, there's no doubt Hannity's conservative. Is Hannity further to the right than Ben Shapiro? Or are they pretty much right in the same area? Let me see. I'm seeing Hannity's establishment. Yeah, establishment, corporatist. A lot of people who are associated as either Democrat or Republican are really establishment corporatists for the most part. And here's why I'm talking about this, guys. Because, okay, someone's saying Tucker's on the extreme right. Okay, but here's what I want. Here's one thing I want to know from you guys. Who's further left than the Young Turks? Who's further left than Cenk Uygur? Okay, so I'll give you some examples here. If Bernie Sanders had a podcast and he wanted to bring me on to talk about Scientology, you'd better believe I'd go on. This is a tough one. If Matt Gaetz had a podcast and he wanted to bring me on just to talk about Scientology, I would go on. And for me, I feel like I would, if Crowder wanted to talk about Scientology, I would go on. If Shapiro wanted to talk about Scientology, I would go on. If I'm trying to think of some other lefty guys. Oh, David Pakman. David Pakman is he's pretty far left, I think. I would go on and talk about Scientology with him all day long. Mike Rinder's gone on to Pakman's show. I'm looking at the live chat. Guys, I'm telling you, if Tucker wanted to talk about Scientology, I would go on. Yes, this is one I was hesitating. So Hasanabi is actually Cenk Uygur's nephew, if you guys didn't know that. Hasanabi's even further left than anyone on the Young Turks, I believe. I don't know. But you know what? His profile is so big that if he wanted to talk about Scientology, I think I would go on. Because why not? And this is actually why I wanted to talk about this. When I was running for Clearwater City Council, I got myself accidentally into some trouble by going onto a program that I just thought was your garden variety evangelical, a podcast program, YouTube channel called, what was it called? Well, the guy's name was Rick Wiles. I forget what the name of the show is. And I didn't bother doing any homework into him because didn't even occur to me to do so. I live in Clearwater, Florida. We have a very strong evangelical population in this area. When I got invited by someone who I saw, I just casually looked at his Twitter profile and the website, and I thought, he's a big evangelical guy. Evangelicals are a constituency that I want to talk to. I know evangelicals consider Scientology to be satanic for the most part. I said, I want these guys. I want to answer questions straight up, live, real time about Scientology, and let them know that I'm running for Clearwater City Council to stand up to Scientology. I thought, this can't go wrong. My first red flag should have been when he kept asking me about my last name before we started the program, before we went live. He kept asking me about the portion of my last name that was Levin. He was very interested in where that name came from. Well, guys, my name is not Aharon Levine for nothing. I am part Jewish. It's on my dad's side, so most people tell me it doesn't count. My parents were never actually married, which is why I have the two last names. So Levin is my dad's name. Smith is my mom's name. Well, anyway, I did this interview. Turns out Mr. Wiles, not a big fan of the Jews. Yikes. Scientology obviously made a huge stink about this, but so did the Tampa Bay Times. Tampa Bay Times wrote a whole big article on me going on a program with a known anti-Semite. The Anti-Defamation League even took a particular interest in this and condemned me to the Tampa Bay Times for merely going onto a program and talking about Scientology. Well, once all that occurred, I was like, hard to know who you're allowed to talk to these days. And I'll be fair, if I had known in advance that he was like literally known to be like kind of an anti-Semitic dude, I wouldn't have gone on the program. But to criticize someone named Aharon Levine for talking about Scientology on an evangelical program, you have to understand, guys, I'm ignorant to a lot of these things. I assumed that all evangelicals had an axe to grind with the Jewish folk. You know, like it's not something it's not what I was there to discuss. Like, now I know people are going to go, "Oh my God, how could you say that about the evangelicals?" Because I'm woefully uninformed and uneducated on these things, you guys. If I have a thought or an idea about something, I'm perfectly aware that that is not necessarily an informed thought or idea. It just happens to be the idea that I have formed based on the limited amount of information or life experience I have been exposed to on that particular subject. And it's one of the reasons you'll never hear me talking about politics, because even if I have a political belief, I don't have the idea that my beliefs are so firmly rooted in facts that they're worth sharing. Like, that's the kind of stuff you share with your friends. You don't like, I don't think so highly of my own political beliefs that it's something I need to change other people's minds about. In fact, it's one of the reasons I love talking about politics with friends is, I'm looking to have my mind changed about things. I'm very aware of my lack of general education on current events and historical events when it comes to geopolitical stuff. And it's also a subject I'm really, really, really fascinated about. It's one of the things that makes me regret that I didn't have the opportunity to go to college, because I feel like studying political history and geopolitics is very interesting. And I would have loved to have an opportunity just to completely immerse myself in all that. I'm seeing someone mention Jordan Peterson. Oh, that's a good one. If Jordan Peterson wanted to talk about Scientology, I would 100% go on and talk about Scientology with him. I'm seeing Valuetainment, Patrick Bet David. I really have a big problem with Patrick Bet David, not only with his, mostly with his fraudulent business practices. And yet I will tell you, I would go on Patrick Bet David and talk about Scientology. Mark Headley's talked about Scientology with Patrick Bet David. Mike Rinder's talked about Scientology with Patrick Bet David. And I think there's something to be said. If someone has a giant platform, yeah, Patrick Bet David is a scammer. I'm seeing in the live chat. I believe that Patrick Bet David is a scammer. He made his money on, predatory multi-level marketing business models. And that's just a fact. Politics aside, I don't respect his business history. Multi-level marketing as an industry is hugely problematic. One of the things that I'm at one point was somewhat publicly known for was helping Bill Ackman, who's a very well-known hedge fund manager in New York, Pershing Square Capital, research Herbalife. Bill Ackman had $1 billion bet that Herbalife would essentially go out of business. I think Bill was right about the problematic nature of Herbalife's business practices. He was not right in the idea that Herbalife was so uniquely bad that they and they alone, aside from the overall multi-level marketing industry in general, would somehow be held accountable. No, like Herbalife's sins are the sins of the entire MLM industry. They weren't uniquely bad enough to be shut down or go out of business. But anyway, I feel like I've become somewhat, I don't like to use the word expert, but if I were to use the expert, I would say expert in the multi-level marketing space. And I don't respect people who make their money in the multi-level marketing space. It's just a fact. So, and Patrick Bet David is an MLM guy. Grant Cardone isn't purely speaking an MLM guy, but he's definitely MLM adjacent. And you guys know I got problems with Grant Cardone for completely other reasons, most of which have to do with Scientology. So the reason this is called breaking my no politics rule is because I am going to start going on some of these political channels to talk about Scientology. And I don't care what the politics are of the platforms that I go on. I'm not running for city council anymore. I'm not worried about being shamed in the press for who I talk to. I do, however, have care for my established audience. And I don't want to turn my audience off in the way that Philip DeFranco has turned me off. I still watch Philip DeFranco. I just don't like him or respect him all that much anymore because he won't keep his damn politics out of his out of his pop culture current events coverage. And I don't want to do that to my audience. So you're not going to hear me talking about any politics on my channel. I'm going to stick to that rule, but I'm going to start taking invitations for other to appear on other channels, many of which are very political in nature, specifically to talk about Scientology. And that's what I wanted to say. And so because of that, I wanted to also hear from you. who do you guys consider to be the most left? And who do you guys consider to be the most right? And I don't mean like in the world. I mean like in the people, whether it's the news space, the podcasting space, the YouTube space, folks whose content is specifically political in nature, present day, like, you know, I'm talking about people who currently post content, the Megyn Kellys of the world. Megyn Kelly's done a lot of Scientology coverage. Mike Rinder's spoken with Megyn Kelly on the subject of Scientology. I would certainly do that as well. I'm just looking for some other names. Bernie Sanders, I would go on with. Cenk Uygur, I would go on with. Alex Jones, look, guys, he's probably one of the most controversial people in the space. If Alex Jones wanted to talk about Scientology, I think I'd go on, guys. Jimmy Dore, that's a good one. I would go on with Jimmy Dore. I'm looking in the chat here. Cumia. Is that Anthony Cumia, like of Opie and Anthony? I don't know anything about Anthony's politics, but I feel like I would go on with him just because I know who he is. I see someone saying most left, the Cavernacle. Never heard of those guys, or if that's a person, I don't know. Let me see. And let me see. Jimmy Dore again. Trigonometry. I don't know what those guys' politics are, so I don't know about that one. And I almost don't care about their politics unless it's, see, to me, Nick Fuentes is just a straight up racist. And I'm not the guy who calls people racist just because I don't agree with them. Okay. To me, I grew up in a time in the 80s when racist meant something very specific. And to me, that's still what racist means. Okay. It means something very specific. And what I've seen of Nick Fuentes just makes me sick, and I would never go on with him. If Meghan Markle... If Meghan Markle wanted to bring me on and talk about Scientology, I would do it. I don't care. I don't care, guys. I would even go on with Meghan Markle. Oh, shit. That is funny. Let's see. Do you have a plan for avoiding political questions? Someone says. Here's the thing. I would say, look, I'm not a political figure. I don't talk about politics. I grew up in a cult. What do I know? I grew up in a cult. How could I know enough to talk about politics? But it's not that I'm afraid. Oh, Bill Maher. I would go on with Bill Maher. Bill Maher has become the the preeminent get off my lawn guy. I actually watched Bill Maher's. He's got a YouTube thing he's doing now. What's it called? Club Random. And he talks to some great guests. The problem is Bill tends to do most of the talking instead of listening. But because he has such an eclectic roster of guests, I do enjoy watching some of Bill's Club Random content. Let's see. Oh, things like, so someone mentions that Cenk Uygur for years was denying the Armenian genocide. That's a perfect example of something I'm not capable of knowing about, and I'm not capable of knowing enough about it to care about it. I don't mean to care about the genocide. I mean to care about someone's opinions about something like that. Like, so you understand, this is from Keystone Pirate. I'm not commenting on the truth or falsity of your statement in any way, shape, or form because I couldn't possibly know enough to do so. And that's an example of a level of research I would never even bother doing before appearing on someone's program if they were bringing me on to talk about Scientology. Do you know what I mean? If I'm going on to talk about Scientology, why do I actually care about any problematic beliefs or positions someone may have taken? Now, I understand I've already said that a Nick Fuentes for me is a line too far. So clearly I'm drawing a line. But for me, the line is just overt, blatant racism. I mean, for me, that is an important line. Politically speaking, the country's extremely divided. The culture war is a real thing. And yet I feel like within that culture war, within the arena of the culture war, there's still absolutely, reasonable people can disagree on very important basic things. Blatant overt racism is something I draw the line there, and I will not just be like, I'm just here to talk about Scientology, but you guys know what I'm saying. I think I already said I would absolutely go on with Tucker. Carl Benjamin. Oh, Carl Benjamin. Is that Sargon of Akkad? God, what happened to that guy? He disappeared. He used to pop up on my feed all the time. Steve Britton, because you're asking about him, I feel like that's a very loaded question. My answer, without knowing what Carl's been up to lately, is like, I think I would go on with him. I mean, I haven't heard a peep out of that guy for like 5 years. Didn't he run for some office over there in the UK? I don't even remember what his main things were. I don't remember what his main issues were. But anyway, without knowing more, I feel like I would go on with Sargon. I don't really know what happened to the guy though. I'm seeing people mentioning Vaush. I recognize that name, but I don't know who that is. I do not know who Vaush is. I'm looking at some other ones here. Tucker, Hannity. Hannity is a weird one, not just because of his political beliefs, but because of his interview style. Like he's a real bomb thrower and he's a real kind of a bully in his interviews. Unless he already thinks he likes what you have to say, then he'll let you run. But if he doesn't, he just cuts you off all the time. I mean, I certainly feel like if Hannity really wanted to just do a segment on Scientology, I still feel like I'd go on with it. You know, no big deal. I'm seeing some other Brian Taylor Cohen, Dave Rubin. I'd go on with Rubin. Sam Cedar. You know what? I'd go on with Sam Cedar. I feel like he's I'd go on with Sam Cedar. I've seen his stuff. I wouldn't have a problem with that. Oh boy, yeah, because of all the Israel-Palestine stuff, if I feels like that creates a whole other thing of having to dig in, like, oh boy, like the space has gotten, you know, the political the news space, the political space right now is very, very, very hot and toxic. But even then, so this might not, you know, Brian Taylor Cohen. I'm not even sure who that is, honestly. Anyway, reason I wanted to do this video is because I'm about to jump off right now and go record a program with one of these channels. And I'm pretty sure we're not doing it live. I'm pretty sure this is pre-recorded, but it's going to be a full hour-long program. And I'm told it's going to be about Scientology. And I guess we'll see how it goes, guys. Hopefully I'm not getting sanctioned by the Anti-Defamation League next week, because I don't know. I just decided I'm going to go on shows that want to talk about Scientology. And I'm not going to worry myself about the politics, because that's not why I'm on the show. And yeah, guys, that's pretty much it. Let's see. Go through a few super chats here and then we'll rock and roll. Zigma 182 wants to know, all good points. By the way, what is Ligma? You know what Ligma is. Thank you, Zigma. Will Gunn, as long as the interview stays on Scientology, then who cares? Spread the word to as many people as possible. Exactly. That's exactly the point. Danny L. Illuminati, the right wing and the left wing are both wings on the same bird, and that is the problem. Well, thank you very much, Danny. I know exactly what you're saying. Kelly at large. It's never too late to go back to college, Aaron. I'm starting again in January to pursue a master's in social psychology. Well, that's great. You know, I mean, I do study an awful lot of material. And I do feel that it's not necessary to necessarily be enrolled in some sort of an academic program in order to learn about those subjects. I just feel, I guess what I mean is Kelly, you know, when you're in college, particularly at the college appropriate age, you sort of have an opportunity to focus all of your attention intensely on learning about a subject. And that's what I wish I had the opportunity to do. I know anyone can always go back and learn about anything. And I do, I feel like I do. But you know, that brief window in time where you don't necessarily have a job, you don't have a house, you don't have a spouse, you don't have children, you don't, you know, all that stuff. And you're just focusing on just the knowledge. That's what I say I regret not having had that opportunity. Thank you very much, Kelly. Keep it even and go both sides. I think that's fair. That's what I would very much like to do. That's one of the reasons I wanted to get your guys' feedback on who do you guys see as furthest to the left in the, you know, current political news, media, entertainment space? Who do you guys see as furthest to the right? And I would love to try to appear on an equal number of programs on both sides, you know. Joni Cummings, I consider Owen Morgan Telltale is on the left. I happen to know he watches your channel. Owen Morgan. Well, Joni, I don't think I'm familiar with his material specifically, but if you email me a link to some of his stuff at growingupinScientology@gmail.com, I'd be happy to watch it. And if he happens to want to do a chat on Scientology, tell him I'd love to. Mike P. Tim Pool would be a great person to have a conversation with on this topic. That's a great example of someone. I'm never quite sure where Tim Pool lies on the spectrum. He's such an, he's kind of an angry guy. I find it hard to watch his content because he always seems so angry. And also he's always on with like 6 people, and it's hard to know like which one of these people do I actually want to hear from. So he's got like 6 people around that table or something like that, and then they'll have on a guest, and I'm like, whose opinion am I tuning in for here? Am I tuning in to hear what the guest has to say? Am I tuning in to hear what Tim has to say? I would 100% go on with Tim Pool if he wanted to talk about Scientology. The Adam Friedland show. Not familiar with that one, but CO Bilf, if you want to send me a link, I'd be happy to watch. Would you still post clips of your interviews? I think not. I think if I'm going to go on someone's channel, it should be with the intention of reaching their audience. And in order to stick to my no politics rule, I feel like I'd be breaking that rule if I brought that content, that creator, that personality onto my channel, that you guys didn't ask to see that. And it's one of the reasons I think it's okay for me to start going on these programs. It's like, you know what? I'm going on to reach them and their audience. And if my audience happens to see that, then that's great, but I'm not going to force it on them. I think that's a respectful, that to me seems to be the right approach at this point. Hassan Piker. Well, actually, Hassan Piker is Hasanabi, who we were talking about. I think his Twitch handle is like Hasanabi. So Hassan is about the furthest left person I can think of. And I still think I would go on and talk. I find him very hard to watch, even when he goes on my favorite shows. Like one of my favorite comedy podcasts is Flagrant with Andrew Schultz. And they had Hassan on not that long ago. For a guy who makes his living talking to the camera, Hassan was a horrible guest. Anyway, I'm talking shit about the guy. I don't like listening to Hassan. I haven't liked almost anything I've ever heard come out of his mouth. But I would still talk to him about Scientology, because that's what I do, folks. I talk about Scientology. All right, that's it for now, guys. I got to jump. And thanks for hanging out with me for this little chat. Guys, if you're watching on the replay, please let me know down below. Who do you guys see as being representing the furthest left? Who do you guys see as representing the furthest right? And yeah, let's see what we can do. All right, guys. I'll talk to you later this afternoon. Talk to you soon.
Okay, if you want to see my rock and roll songs, click right on this guitar. And if you want to see a different one of my videos, then you could click